Look at this blank silhouette right here. What would it look like if you could actually see Julius Caesar's face? Throughout history, the way we think about leaders is tied to the way that they look. From Hitler to Gandhi to Stalin, we're looking at their mustache, their mustache, their mustache. It's even true today. Who can separate their impression of Donald Trump from his hair, or Joseph Biden from his teeth? But Julius Caesar, one of the greatest leaders in all of history, is kind of a mystery. So today I'm going to see if I can fill in that silhouette with a face. There are so many different busts of Caesar, and they are of wildly varying historical accuracy. That's what makes our job difficult. Obviously, there weren't photographs around in the time of Caesar. The same is true of the paintings that were done of Caesar hundreds of years, maybe even more than 1,000 years after he was born. They have some of the features that we notice from those busts, but they also are kind of different. And so it's really tough to guess at what he might look like. There are already a lot of reconstructions that exist. Some claim to use machine learning, but really they're just kind of building off of various busts that they've chosen as models. Others have drawings like this freak show right here. Just look at this thing. I guarantee you Julius Caesar did not look like this. But all these reconstructions, they are based off busts or coins or writings. I'm going to be using this technology called Metahumans.
I am a Metahuman, the next generation of digital human powered by Unreal Engine.
So I'm going to be tweaking it, messing around with it, trying to match it to what we know about Julius Caesar. And while the result won't be photographically accurate, I think that it can compile a lot of the best information we have about how Caesar looked. All right, so as you can see, I've already been messing around a little, trying to get that sweet Caesar flavor. Wallace is probably my best one so far. Vincent over here was when I wanted to do what Teddy Roosevelt would actually look like. But I decided to pivot to somebody that you can't check it with photos on. So yeah, let's make a new metahuman. What you do with metahumans is you kind of have a starting point. You pick somebody who's going to be a good base for your metahuman. That naturally brings us to the question of Caesar's race and his age. We're going to be doing a portrait of Caesar later in life, so I'm looking for somebody who's kind of in their 50s, though I can age them a bit with the program. We know a bit about Caesar's lineage, though there's a lot of myth thrown in there too. Apparently he was descended from like Venus, the goddess, which is not something we can verify. But I can tell you on all the existing portrayals of him and all the text that he was fair-skinned, and he was basically what we would describe today as white rather than being African or Asian. And so that's why I'm going to choose that as my opening model. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the animation that's running, puts him into an idle pose. So now it's time to really get down to things. And I'm going to be relying on Suetonius. Suetonius is a very famous Roman historian who wrote early in the Roman Empire, and he's kind of considered one of the most reliable sources when it comes to the early Roman emperors. His writing is really what we rely on because he started every section with a physical description of the emperors. I don't want to throw the whole classics academic field under the bus here, but if I was doing something about the 1900s and only had one source, I wouldn't consider it reliable at all. But in this case, we have this one written source of Suetonius, who's considered reliable by a lot of scholars of Julius Caesar. And we're going to be combining that with a bust or two and also some coins. So anyway, Suetonius says that Caesar was active all his life and he had kind of fair skin. So I'm going to give Caesar a little bit of fairer skin here. Do that on this texture slider. Because Caesar was active in all his campaigns, I'm going to add a little more texture to his skin, which kind of reads as age. I also like what I'm seeing in this one in the neck rolls over here, because on the coins and on the bust, Caesar has these distinctive neck rolls that appear in a few different places. So I like that this guy already has that. For this, I'm going to quote from a paper that is all about portraits of Julius Caesar. And he kind of encapsulates what Suetonius says. It says that Caesar is tall of stature with a fair complexion. We've got that. Shapely limbs. We'll make sure to get that. It talks about his mouth and his keen black eyes. So I'll go ahead and make Caesar's eyes very dark. To me, keen black eyes implies a smaller iris versus a larger one, more of a shrewd appearance. Now we will go into the hair on his head. So here, Suetonius is very clear, as are many other authors, all the busts, everybody, that Caesar had a receding hairline. In all these portraits, he has a little hair, but it's going away quickly, and he's kind of trying to hide it. This is in the text and also in some of the coins even, and the busts. Suetonius says baldness was a disfigurement that worried him greatly, and because of it, he used to comb forward his scanty locks from the crown of his head. And then he goes on, he says, and of all of the honors that were voted him by Senate and people, there was none that he accepted or made use of more gladly than the privilege of wearing a laurel wreath on all occasions. So this is actually just perfect for us. It'll let me pan up. Got a beautiful receding hairline for our Caesar. I'm going to go ahead and make it a darker shade just because of what we know about Caesar. And I'm also going to add some salt and pepper because, after all, we are doing an older Caesar, one who's near death. And you can see that some of these portrayals have Caesar's hair as being a bit longer on the side, but they definitely have the receding element. It is clear from Suetonius and all the portrayals that Caesar was clean-shaven. So he's not going to get one of these beautiful boys. God, I mean, just look at that. Don't you respect that Caesar so much more? But he's pretty clean-shaven. And then it also says that he was very careful about grooming the rest of his hair too, and removed all his other hair. I don't know how literally we want to take that. But I will go ahead and give him pretty thin eyebrows. I'm also going to give him short, sparse eyelashes. Now that we have all these basics down, it's time to get to the more specific stuff about these representations of Caesar. Most historians agree that the key bust of Caesar was made while Caesar was alive. It is known as the Tusculum portrait or the Tusculum bust. Other competitive busts look cool, but sometimes they look really different from the coins and from the description that we have from Suetonius. Like there's the Arles, Arles bust, discovered in the Rhone River. It's supposed to be of Caesar, but this is like hunky Caesar. This is not a realistic Caesar. This is like Caesar after he did some roids and hung out with Gerard Butler and talked about 300 for like 3 hours. So our Caesar is going to be based on that one bust that was made during his lifetime, and that matches up with some of the description of Suetonius, and that is the Tusculum portrait. When it goes into preview mode, he just looks so real. And that's a credit more to Unreal Engine than to his Caesarness. I love that expression. I found one more cool angle of the bust that I want to compare. Okay, I feel like we're definitely nailing the skull shape, the somewhat unusual skull shape. We're getting there on the nose. His lips just aren't as full. There we go. I've needed that for a while. Get that upper lip skinny. Fill out that lower lip. Let's see on the ears. I'll make the ear a little bigger. Make the chin. I feel like the chin needs to be a little bigger too. That's looking a lot better. That is very helpful to have this additional reference. Let's see what that looks like from the front. Oh gosh, he's scary. But that is looking like our Caesar. And when you put him into preview mode, you can really convince yourself that this is a real person, that this is Julius Caesar right here. And it's completely an illusion, but it is so alluring to think of it. The cool thing is that it has different lighting settings. So you can see what he would look like indoor, in an indoor lighting setting, which is really cool. There's studio lighting, like this. There's an outdoor lighting scenario, which I think really makes it look weird and oddly real, and he looks so scary. What's cool is that you can even change the lights. So awesome. So dramatic. I love it. So sick. So why is this not just a party trick? Well, it is kind of just a party trick. So why even bother? Well, I think that it helps us relate to these historical characters in a more vivid way than we otherwise would. And even the research process can teach us something about how Julius Caesar really acted. After all, he has Suetonius make fun of him for wearing a laurel on his head, for having a comb over. Now, that might not match up with the picture that we've created, but it does tell us something about Caesar, about how people treated Caesar, and how people in that society treated comb-overs, pretty much the same way we do today. And that's really interesting. Filling in that silhouette on history, it doesn't have to be with certainty. It can be with more questions. It can be with new curiosity. And sometimes, if we allow ourselves, it can be with a pretty awesome picture. Aw, Caesar's smiling. I just want to sneak in here the night before publication to say thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I've got a ton of references down in the description of this video. I didn't go too deep into them in this video, but there are a lot of papers out there that I was able to pore over to try to make this portrait of Caesar more and more realistic. If you think you can do a better job, please do. I want to see it. And I want to hear about it because I believe it. I'm not an artist. I'm somebody who just got a chance to play with a really fun program. Finally, I wanted to read a couple of comments from the last video that I posted, which was all about my career as a fake scientist. One of them that's really funny is from Jonathan Musser. It says, I went whole hog on the dolphin-free cranberries one Thanksgiving, since it's my job to make the cranberry sauce. My in-laws were so confused. Great times. Love hearing that. And then David Perino said, I love your emails. My colleagues love your emails. We are real scientists and celebrate each and every one of your posts. How awesome is that? I'm super grateful for it. If you were able to watch this video, normally I do personal and history type stuff on here. It'd be great if you subscribed and joined me for the next one, or if you left a note on this video to help pump up the algorithm. All right, thank you so much for watching, letting me sneak in at the end. And hey, like Caesar, keep smiling. All right, bye.